It was supposed to be my sanctuary, the one room I didn't have to share. But then came the knock. Lauren stood in the doorway of her kitchen, the scent of roasted vegetables still lingering in the air. The space gleamed. Subway tiles she had chosen, the custom island she had saved months for, now cluttered with half-eaten plates and mismatched wine glasses. Her father sat silently at the head of the table, nursing his beer like it held answers. Jake lounged across from him, one leg propped up, Brittany nestled beside him with a smug glow. Her hand rested casually on her slight bump as if it were the ultimate trump card. Karen wiped her hands on a floral dish towel, the one Lauren had bought last Thanksgiving, and smiled that disarming smile she reserved for uncomfortable requests. "Honey," she began, her tone syrupy, "can we sit for a minute? There's something we wanted to run by you." Lauren tilted her head. She hadn't even set down her purse yet. "I'm listening," she said carefully, sensing the rehearsed choreography in everyone's posture. Karen exchanged a glance with Mark, who avoided eye contact, then turned to Jake and Brittany before facing Lauren again. "It's just, with Brittany being pregnant and Jake having those long shifts at the hospital, we were just thinking, maybe it would be more comfortable for them to stay in the master bedroom for a while." Silence swallowed the room. The ticking of the wall clock, the hum of the refrigerator. They suddenly sounded deafening. Lauren blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Just temporarily," Karen rushed on, as if speed could blunt the impact. "They wouldn't change anything. And of course you'd still have full access to the rest of the house. It's just, they need the space, you know? With the baby on the way." Jake didn't speak. He didn't even look at her. His thumb danced over his phone screen, pretending disinterest, leaving Karen to do the dirty work. Lauren's jaw tensed. Her body froze, but her mind raced. She had spent months closing that mortgage, pinching pennies, working double shifts, rejecting every indulgence that might slow down her savings. This house was her restart, her symbol of independence after years of sacrifice. And the master bedroom, her one private haven, was now being eyed like an unclaimed prize. "You're suggesting I give up my bedroom?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. Karen softened her gaze. "Honey, it's just a room." "No, it's not," Lauren replied, more sharply than intended. She folded her arms tightly across her chest. "It's my room, in my house." Karen's smile faltered. "Well, of course, no one's disputing that." "Doesn't sound like it," Lauren shot back, her eyes briefly locking with Brittany's. The other woman's expression was unreadable, but her fingers kept circling the rim of her water glass. Jake finally looked up, his voice lazy. "We just thought it'd make things easier. Brittany can't be climbing the stairs every day. And the ensuite—" "It's not your decision to make," Lauren interrupted. Another silence. This one denser. Mark cleared his throat but still said nothing. His role was always the same. Background noise in family decisions. Karen stepped closer, dropping her voice to a coaxing murmur. "Sweetheart, you're single. You don't need a king-sized bed. They do." There it was. The words hung in the air like the final piece of a puzzle Lauren didn't want to see completed. All the subtle comments over the past months about settling down, about making space for others, clicked into place. They weren't suggestions. They were groundwork. Lauren didn't reply. She simply turned, walked down the hall and into her bedroom. She sat on the edge of her bed, her chest tight, her thoughts tangled. Her eyes landed on the drawer of her nightstand. She opened it. Inside, crisp and undeniable, was the deed to the house. Her name, only her name, stared back at her in bold black ink. Lauren looked at the deed in her drawer that has only one name. Hers. By the weekend, my closet smelled like cologne that wasn't mine. Lauren pressed a blouse to her nose, frowning. The subtle lavender fabric softener she'd always used was now smothered under a thick, musky scent. Jake's. It clung to her jackets, crept into the seams of her clothes like an unwelcome guest. She pulled open the closet door wider, confirming her fear. His duffel bag was slouched in the corner like it belonged there, and 2 pairs of sneakers, still muddy from some half-hearted jog, were shoved under her hanging dresses. She hadn't agreed. Not explicitly. After that dinner, after the guilt trip disguised as a family meeting, Lauren had gone to bed numb. She thought they might take the hint from her silence. But silence, apparently, was permission in their world. Outside, the Oregon sky cried in steady, rhythmic sobs. Rain slid down the kitchen windows in long, exhausted trails. Inside, the house she had once curated with such care now shifted beneath her feet like sand. Lauren wandered into the kitchen for her morning coffee and stopped short. Her favorite mug, the ceramic one from Portland's Saturday Market, glazed deep teal with a crack along the handle, was gone. In its place sat a generic white one with a baby on board sticker slapped on the side. She checked the drying rack, then the dishwasher. Nothing. Oh, Jake grabbed a mug to take his protein shake upstairs, Karen said breezily, breezing through the hallway with a basket of freshly washed towels. I told him to be careful. Lauren blinked. That mug isn't dishwasher safe. Karen shrugged. He's a grown man. I'm sure he'll manage. Brittany appeared moments later, her pink robe dusting the floor, her nails perfectly manicured. She clutched a throw pillow Lauren had custom ordered and looked Lauren up and down with a smile that was just a shade too wide. Hey, I was thinking, Brittany chirped. This space would look amazing if we pushed the couch a little to the left. You know, better feng shui for the baby. Lauren stared. You mean my living room? Brittany giggled. Oh, just a small change. It's all about energy flow. By mid-afternoon, the couch had been moved. So had the rug. A new vase Lauren didn't recognize appeared on the mantel, filled with plastic tulips in pastel colors she hated. And Brittany's friends had arrived. 2 of them, both wearing leggings and bringing scented candles and baby name books like they were planning a summit. Lauren stayed in her office, or tried to, but even there, peace was a myth. She emerged for a moment to grab a snack and found Jake in the pantry, opening her last box of granola bars. You like these? He asked, mouth already full. I bought them for my lunch. He shrugged. We'll add it to the list. What list? He didn't answer, just smirked and walked away, leaving crumbs in his wake. Later that evening, as Lauren wiped down the bathroom sink, she noticed her toothbrush had moved. Again. Jake's electric razor now lived beside her skincare products, and Brittany's prenatal vitamins were lined up like soldiers on the counter. The master bedroom door was shut now, her old sanctuary, reclaimed without ceremony. Just adjustment, Karen kept saying whenever Lauren so much as raised an eyebrow. It takes time for everyone to find their rhythm. By Tuesday, Lauren's rhythm was a cacophony. Brittany had taken over the living room, playing calming baby music during her afternoon naps. Jake left wet towels on the guest bed. Karen made casseroles and praised Brittany's maternal glow, while Mark read the newspaper and avoided Lauren's eyes. Then it happened. Lauren came home early from work. She stepped into the quiet house, savoring the silence, only to hear faint noises coming from her office. She patted down the hallway and pushed the door open. Jake stood at her desk, pulling open drawers, yanking out cables. Looking for something? She asked, her tone sharper than she intended. He barely glanced at her. Charger. Brittany drained hers. You could have asked. I figured you wouldn't mind. Well, you figured wrong. Jake scoffed and shoved a drawer shut hard enough to rattle a picture frame. That night, Lauren sat on the edge of her bed, now the smaller guest bed, and stared at her laptop. She opened the Wi-Fi settings, clicked change password, typed it in carefully. Something only she would remember. Then she waited. Down the hall, a voice rose. Why is Netflix not working? Brittany's whine carried through the walls. Lauren smiled to herself and closed the laptop lid. She set a password on the Wi-Fi and watched Brittany's Netflix freeze. They didn't say thank you. They didn't say sorry. They just acted like it was theirs all along. Lauren sat on the edge of the narrow guest bed, the one she'd been exiled to, and stared at the blank journal page in her lap. Her pen hovered for a second before finally touching down. Day 3 since the invasion, she wrote, the ink barely visible in the low light. My bedroom smells like them. My closet echoes like it knows it's been emptied. My coffee is always cold by the time I find a clean mug. Down the hall, laughter erupted from the living room. The flat screen she'd bought last Christmas now blasted some reality show Lauren would never watch, and Jake's voice, loud, lazy, rose above the artificial drama. Something crashed. Brittany giggled. Karen's sing-song voice followed. It's just a bowl, sweetheart. We have plenty. Lauren closed her eyes and slid her earbuds in. Instrumental music, ocean waves, anything to drown them out. But sound had a way of seeping through walls, especially the kind that carried entitlement. Earlier that afternoon, Lauren had come home to find her fleece throw blanket, her favorite, the one she used every evening on her reading chair, strewn across the floor, covered in cracker crumbs. A half-eaten banana rested on the armrest. No one even blinked when she stepped in. Hey, Brittany said, flipping through a magazine without looking up. Do you mind if we move the diffuser upstairs? I read that lavender helps with pregnancy fatigue. Lauren didn't answer. She just picked up the banana peel and walked away. In the kitchen, she stood still for a long time. Her hands curled around the edge of the sink as she watched the rain beat softly against the window pane. The garden lights flickered on, illuminating the path she once planted with tulip bulbs. Now overgrown, untended. Her phone buzzed. Melissa. She picked up quickly. Please tell me you haven't murdered anyone yet, Melissa said dryly. Lauren let out a weak laugh. No, but I'm starting to understand the appeal. Melissa didn't laugh. How bad is it? They've redecorated. They eat my food. They've taken over the bathroom, the living room, my closet. Jake used my razor this morning. What? He said it was just to trim his beard. I found it still wet. No apology. Melissa's voice dropped. You need to get ahead of this. Legally. Lauren leaned against the fridge, her fingers drumming against the cool metal. It's my house. The deed's in my name. I pay the mortgage. Then act like it, Melissa snapped. Start documenting. Keep receipts, dates, every little thing. That night, Lauren sat quietly at the kitchen table, photocopying the deed. She slipped the original into a plastic sleeve, then into a file folder she'd labeled with a single word. Proof. She moved around the house like a ghost now, each step carefully chosen to avoid their noise, their judgment. Jake always had some opinion about the thermostat. Brittany always had a suggestion for a more soothing color palette. And Karen had perfected the art of weaponized sweetness. I thought you'd be more generous, Lauren, she said over dinner as if dropping casual weather updates. This house is about family, after all, not about square footage. Lauren said nothing, just stared down at her plate until the mashed potatoes blurred. Later that night, Brittany passed her in the hallway and murmured, You know, you'd sleep better if you weren't so tight all the time. Lauren didn't reply. She waited until the house was dark, until the muffled snoring began and the heater kicked into its late-night hum. Then she slipped out of bed and opened her laptop. Her fingers typed quietly, urgently. Oregon tenancy laws. Definition of guest versus tenant. Can family be evicted without lease? She read until her eyes burned. The law spoke in stiff, uncertain tones. Words like residency, intention, consideration. Nothing clear, nothing solid. Still, she copied links, saved pages, opened a new Word doc titled Exit Strategy. She didn't sleep. Instead, she stared at the screen, the glow reflecting off her tired eyes as the world she'd built quietly crumbled around her. Lauren looked up Oregon tenancy laws at 2 a.m. You don't wake up and declare war. You just stop nodding. The scent of burnt toast reached Lauren before her bare feet touched the cold kitchen tile. It mingled with the sharp tang of Brittany's citrus perfume and the sound of her voice cutting through the morning like a knife. Does this toaster always smoke like this? Brittany whined, fanning the air with one manicured hand as if her very existence was being inconvenienced. Lauren didn't answer. She crossed the kitchen, opened the fridge, and took out a Tupperware container labeled in black marker. Lauren, do not touch. It sat beside an open bottle of Brittany's green juice, already half gone and leaking sticky trails onto the shelf. Lauren didn't clean it. She just slid her container past it and shut the door. At the counter, she spooned overnight oats into a bowl and ate silently. The house buzzed around her. Jake's heavy footsteps upstairs, Karen humming in the dining room, Brittany rummaging for a glass without closing cabinet doors behind her. Dishes were already piling in the sink, plates crusted with egg yolk, a spatula balanced precariously on a mug rim. Lauren didn't flinch. "Morning," Karen chirped, emerging with a folded dish towel. "I was thinking we could do tacos tonight. Brittany's been craving something spicy." "That's fine," Lauren said, not looking up. Karen stepped closer, smile softening into concern. "Sweetie, I noticed you've been keeping to yourself lately. Everything okay?" Lauren raised her eyes slowly. "I'm just giving everyone space." Karen nodded too quickly. "Of course, but this is your home too. No need to be so territorial." Lauren's spoon paused midair. "I'm not territorial. I'm cautious." Karen blinked. "Well, I hope you'll be a little more open soon. Brittany's hormones are—" "I'm not in charge of her hormones," Lauren said, her voice even. The silence that followed was brittle. Karen retreated with a practiced sigh and a muttered, "You used to be so generous." Lauren finished her breakfast, washed only her bowl and spoon, dried them, and tucked them into her cabinet. The pile in the sink remained untouched. She walked to the pantry, reached for a Sharpie, and began labeling her food. Each item: Lauren's cereal, Lauren's almond milk, Lauren's snacks, Lauren's coffee. She used all caps. No one could say they didn't see. That afternoon, Jake lounged on the living room couch, feet up on the coffee table, flipping through TV channels like he owned them. He barely looked up as Lauren passed behind him. "Hey, Britt wants sushi. You in?" "I already ate," she said flatly. He shrugged. "Cool, I'll just use your card." Lauren froze mid-step. "What?" Jake held up the shiny black Visa Lauren kept in the bowl by the door. Her emergency card. "Relax, I've used it before. It's the one we used last week when we ordered pizza." Lauren didn't answer. She just turned and walked away. No shouting. No confrontation. Not anymore. Instead, she went upstairs, opened her laptop, and logged into her bank account. A charge was already pending. $48.72 from a sushi restaurant across town. Her name, her money, their food. She opened the card settings and canceled it with a single click. Downstairs, laughter floated up. Jake's, then Brittany's. Another show queued up on her Netflix profile. The account she paid for. Lauren moved to the front door, pulled open the settings panel on the smart lock, and entered a new PIN. One they didn't know. She stared at the screen as it confirmed. Access code updated. Outside, the rain had turned to drizzle. Leaves clung to the walkway. Inside, the house hummed with false warmth and borrowed comfort. Lauren sat back in her chair, listening to the sounds of her own quiet. Not the kind that came from peace, but the kind that preceded change. She canceled the card silently and set a pin on the front door lock. A piece of paper can't scream, but it can make people shut up real fast. Rain tapped against the windows like a ticking clock, cold and rhythmic, a steady percussion to Lauren's breathing. The house was too warm, too still. Somewhere upstairs, Brittany's music thudded behind a closed door, bass vibrating through the ceiling like a dull threat. But Lauren didn't flinch. Not tonight. She sat at the kitchen table, fingers tapping the trackpad of her laptop as the printer whirred to life beside her. Each mechanical sound, click, buzz, feed, was a small triumph. The header printed bold and centered. Notice to vacate. 7 days. Below it, calm legal language. Unemotional. Precise. A tone she had only recently learned how to speak in. Lauren reached for an envelope and folded the paper once. Then again. She sealed it with the slow, deliberate pressure of someone who no longer questioned her resolve. She didn't rehearse. She didn't draft speeches or anticipate their reactions. That part of her, the one who needed to prepare for everyone else's feelings, had gone quiet. Footsteps creaked down the stairs. Jake emerged first, barefoot, scrolling on his phone. Brittany followed, her hand resting on the curve of her belly, her eyes glazed with entitlement and boredom. Karen trailed behind them in a shawl, holding 2 mugs of tea, the peacemaker on duty. Lauren stood and slid the envelope across the counter. Jake glanced up. "What's this?" Brittany reached for it first and opened the flap with manicured fingers, already scoffing before the page was fully unfolded. "Oh, come on." Jake leaned over her shoulder, brow furrowing. "Wait, what is this? A joke?" "No joke," Lauren said, her voice calm. Karen stepped forward. "Lauren, what is this really?" "It's a legal notice to vacate," Lauren said plainly. "You have 7 days." Karen blinked as if the words were foreign. "You don't mean this." "I do," Lauren replied. She reached behind her and lifted another piece of paper from the printer tray. It was smooth and thick, embossed with the county seal. "This is the deed to the house. You'll notice it has one name on it. Mine." She placed it beside the notice, its presence definitive. Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. Jake took a half step back. "Come on," Brittany snapped, slamming the paper down. "You're seriously kicking out your family? While I'm pregnant?" Lauren's eyes didn't move. "You're not tenants. You're trespassers." Brittany's laugh was sharp. "God, you sound just like that lawyer friend of yours. What was her name? Melissa?" Lauren didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her phone buzzed quietly on the table. A new message. "Proud of you." Jake picked up the notice again, reading slower this time. "You've got to be kidding. We don't have anywhere else to go." "That's not my responsibility anymore," Lauren said. Her voice was low but final. The room thickened. The silence wasn't absence. It was threat. Brittany's face twisted. She grabbed the nearest mug, one of Lauren's favorites, the one with the faded mountain print, and hurled it. It hit the tile and exploded into porcelain shards, the sound ringing like a gunshot in the kitchen. No one moved. Karen gasped. Jake flinched. Lauren didn't even blink. But something cracked open. Something beyond ceramic. Lauren stepped back without a word, took a broom from the pantry, and began to sweep. The floor was scattered with fragments. So was the illusion of family. She worked slowly, the silence now fully broken, the air charged with a truth no one could deny. The line had been drawn. Brittany throws a mug. It shatters on the floor. And so does the silence. They called me dramatic, but I had receipts. Literally. Lauren's bedroom was colder than usual. Not physically, though the October rain tapped steadily against the window and the floor held a chill, but emotionally. It had become her war room, locked, silent, pulsing with the quiet energy of someone building something no one else could see. She sat cross-legged on the bed, laptop open, illuminated only by the screen glow. The room smelled faintly of peppermint and printer toner. In front of her, folders, envelopes, printouts, sticky notes, USB drives. She wasn't packing. She was archiving. A text buzzed on her phone. "How's your evidence archive going?" MC Loren smiled, just barely. Meticulous. "You'd be proud," she replied. "I always am. PS dash, record everything, even if you think it's boring." Melissa was right. Again. Lauren started with the basics. She opened her email inbox and began searching by keyword. Mortgage confirmation, utility bill, Home Depot delivery. She downloaded every invoice, every receipt, every transaction. Then she opened her banking app and exported statements for the last year, highlighted the dates that coincided with property taxes, a separate file for home insurance. Each document went into its own labeled folder. Digital copies in the cloud, backups on her external drive, a handwritten ledger because paper still mattered. Then came the photos, before and after shots of the house renovation, the hardwood floors, the paint job, the custom cabinets in the kitchen Brittany now spilled smoothies on. Lauren clicked through the pictures and noted every date in the file properties. If she needed to prove investment, she'd bring the full blueprint. She clicked over to Amazon Prime. A new notification blinked. Your order has shipped. Lauren hadn't placed one. She opened the account and scanned the recent activity. A $289 baby monitor, a luxury diaper backpack, 2 sets of organic cotton swaddles, all ordered by Jake Carter, the shipping address, her house. Her jaw tightened. She clicked download invoice on each one and added them to the file. Unauthorized purchases. Next, she opened her voicemail. Brittany had left a message earlier, right after the notice to vacate had gone out. She hit play. You're being a bitter hag, Lauren. This is your house? Please, you just got lucky. Try having a real family for once in your life. Lauren didn't flinch. She tapped save, then converted the message to an MP3 and filed it under verbal harassment. She got up and walked quietly to her door, locking it out of habit. She reached for the smart lock she'd ordered 2 days ago. It had arrived discreetly and now sat boxed near her closet. 20 minutes later, the new lock was installed. Only she had the code. Then she mounted the door camera. Not facing outside, but inward. A little lens now watched the hallway, trained to catch any unsolicited entry. No more guessing who rifled through her room. No more wondering if Jake borrowed anything again. Back at her desk, she opened her voice memos. Earlier that day, she'd turned on her phone's recording app and slipped it into her cardigan pocket before entering the living room. She tapped play. She's not going to actually go through with this? Jake's voice drawled lazily. It's just another one of her power trips. We're not paying anything anyway. It's her house. Let her deal with it. A pause. Brittany. Still, if she really kicks us out, we'll tell people she evicted a pregnant woman. That'll look good in court. Jake laughed. Court? She won't take it that far. She's soft. Lauren hit pause and saved the file. Self-admitted freeloader, October 19th. She took a breath. Not out of nerves, out of clarity. The screen in front of her blinked softly, cursor waiting. She opened a new folder, titled it, Eviction, just in case. Then she began a master index, links to documents, audio logs, screenshots. The kind of list you build not for today, but for the day someone calls you hysterical, and you need to respond with calm, surgical destruction. She reached for the heating pad, placed it against her lower back, and leaned back into the pillows. Her laptop hummed. Outside, the wind picked up. This wasn't about being dramatic. It was about being ready. She labeled the file, Eviction just in case. You have 7 days to vacate. That's not a suggestion.